Chapter 52:13. Just 300 law lights were enough to nurture a first-level spirit spell cultivator. This was too worth it for Zichin. Zichin wasn't sure if everyone here was like that. Xiao Zhu looked at her hands and the light flowing between her palms. She couldn't believe her eyes. This is power. I have power too? She was excited and in disbelief. I can kill the ancestor beast too? Zichun thought about it and said, It's true that you have power, but it's not realistic to kill the ancestor beast. According to the estimation of the ancestor beast he killed last time, it was around the 3rd or 4th level of spirit spell. Xiao Zhu was startled. When can I kill the ancestor beast? Zichin said, That depends on how much you've improved. You are only at the 1st level of spirit spell, at least the 4th level. Xiao Zhu looked at the remaining law lights. After following Zichin for a few days, it was the largest amount of law lights she had seen in her life. She never thought that one day she would be able to eat law lights until she was full. She also didn't know that one would have power when one was full. Zichin looked out of the window. After coming here for a few days, he didn't use up much of his power. However, it wasn't easy to replenish it. In these few days, Xiao Zhu refined 300 rays of power. But in order to recover, Zichin had refined more than 3,000 rays of power. Although he still had a lot of black stones on him, he couldn't handle such consumption. One must know that he only fought a few times last time. He hadn't experienced a real battle yet. So now, Zichin needed to obtain some law lights to prepare for emergencies. Moreover, he was certain that there were higher grades of light of law out there. For example, the one he got from killing the ancestor beast. Or else, with his realm, it would take a long time just to rely on these law lights for a big battle. Let's go out for a walk. Zichin went downstairs. Xiao Zhu followed behind. When the waiter saw the two of them, he immediately came up to them. Now, almost everyone in Okang's Pure Land knew that there was a tyrannical existence living in this inn. Zichin nodded at the waiter and brought Xiao Zhu out of the inn. When the waiter saw Xiao Zhu, there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Xiao Zhu had just obtained energy and was still unable to control it. Hence, her aura was still in an external state. This aura made Little Fool clearly feel danger. In just a few short days, he had actually grown to such a level. While the waiter was shocked, he was also incomparably envious. It was clear that this lord had been constantly providing the light of law. Otherwise, how could there be such great progress? Zichin walked on the street. It was very lively here. Most of the people he saw were ordinary people without any power around them. Thus, Lil Bamboo's appearance immediately caused a commotion. Many people were looking at her in fear. In the eyes of these ordinary people, the 1st level of spirit cultivation was already an amazing existence. Back then, Luo-san was only at the 3rd level of spirit cultivation and dared to show off. Xiao Zhu saw respect in these people's eyes. Can I survive? Xiao Zhu tilted her head and looked at Zichin. It's hard to say. Zichin said, If you want to live an ordinary life, there should be no problem. But if you want to be extraordinary, I'm afraid it's not possible. Xiao Zhu said, I want to live an ordinary life. Zichin said again, If you live an ordinary life, you will never be able to repay the light of law you owe me. Xiao Zhu pursed her lips. Then I will continue to cultivate. But maybe, Zichin interrupted Xiao Zhu's words, there's no possibility. I'm not afraid of you owing me. The higher your realm, the faster you will be able to earn light of law in the future. Just like me, in less than a day, I obtained more than 2,000 light of law. Xiao Zhu nodded, and her confidence reappeared in her heart. In fact, Zichin's words were very misleading. But the current Xiao Zhu obviously couldn't tell. Galai's death caused quite a commotion in the Pure Land. His properties had all become ownerless, causing many people to be envious of him. When Wei Luo returned and heard the news, he immediately called all the influential people in the area over. Tell me about that person's background. He actually caused such a big commotion. Wei Luo looked at everyone present. Everyone was silent. Wei Luo said, Car, tell us. Ka scratched his head and said, Sir, this matter really has nothing to do with me. Back then, I suggested Galei to apologize to Ziqin, but he didn't listen. Everyone can testify for me. Wei Luo said, Galei's death has nothing to do with you. Today, I called you here to talk about that Ziqin. Sir, I'm not familiar with that Ziqin. I didn't even say a word to him. Haydn, on the other hand, drank with him. Maybe he knows something. Everyone looked at Haydn. Haydn said, I asked him back then, but he didn't say much. I suspect that he's from the upper realm. Upper realm? Wei Luo's expression changed. That's just my guess. I don't know what the truth is. As for the basis, I drank the wine he brought. The taste is many times better than the good wine in my shop. Haydn thought for a moment and said, Moreover, he's not familiar with the Pure Land. Just by hearing what Haydn said, the others guessed that the other party might be from the upper realm. He was so powerful, unfamiliar with the Pure Land, and had good wine. If he didn't come from the upper realm, where else could he come from? But why would someone from the upper realm come down and come to their place? Wei Luo asked again, What do you think of his strength? Haydn shook his head and said, I don't know. Anyway, I can't beat him. Nonsense. If you can beat him, you won't be standing here. Next to him, someone mocked. Then, do you think he's here for a walk, or is he planning to stay here for a long time? Or does he have other purposes? I'm not sure about that. Find a chance to sound him out. Also, Sir isn't here recently. Don't trouble that person again. Everything will wait for Sir to come back. Everyone nodded and then left. Haydn went to the inn again and coincidentally met Ziqin and Xiao Zhu, who were returning. Haydn smiled and said, Drink. Ziqin nodded and sat down. He took the initiative to take out a pot of wine. I have something to ask. Haydn's eyes lit up. With wine, everything can be discussed. He took the initiative to take the wine pot and poured 3 cups. Xiao Zhu sat at the side. Haydn glanced at Xiao Zhu, but with just a glance, his expression changed. First level of spirit technique. Isn't this too fast? At this moment, Ziqin asked, Here, how can I earn the light of law? Haydn was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Ziqin to ask this question. You plan to stay here for a long time? Haydn asked. If there's a way to earn the light of law, I might stay here for a long time. Ziqin didn't hide it. At the very least, he didn't have any other clear places. Haydn said, There are many ways to earn the light of law. At the very least, you can form an adventure team to hunt ancestral beasts outside the Pure Land. Then Haydn pointed at his feet. For example, you can open an inn or do some business in the Pure Land. Haydn smiled in the end. Of course, these are all a bit slow. There's one last way, which is the fastest. Once you succeed, you don't have to worry about not having enough light of law. Oh, Ziqin looked at Haydn. Chapter 52:14. Open up a Pure Land. Haydn's words made Ziqin stunned. He was a little puzzled. Haydn said, Legend has it that the Pure Land is the product of the immortals' death in battle. There are many resources in it. The first person to discover the Pure Land will receive the immortals' gift and become the master of the Pure Land. This method was undoubtedly the fastest way to gain contribution points. Ziqin said again, Last time I killed the ancestor beast and got a light of law. Its grade is a little higher than the ordinary ones. Haydn said that's a law spirit. 1 is equivalent to 100 light of law. Then Ziqin asked a few more questions. Haydn answered almost everything he knew until the 3 of them finished a pot of wine. Ziqin and Haydn drank mainly. Xiao Zhu only drank 2 cups. During this time, The waiter served a pot of tea, and Xiao Zhu drank it. Haydn suddenly remembered something and said, "Lord Wei Luo is back. I'll ask him if there's any business suitable for you in the Pure Land." Zichen nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you." After drinking the pot of wine, Haydn left and went to find Wei Luo. Before he came, he was still in a dilemma about how to talk to Zichen. He didn't expect Zichen to take the initiative to mention it. He went straight to Wei Luo and told her what Zichen had asked him. Wei Luo said, "So he's planning to stay here for a long time?" Haydn said, "He said that if there's a suitable way, he can stay here for a long time." Wei Luo snorted. "He's got guts. He killed people here, and now he dares to stay here for a long time. I don't know if he's confident or conceited." "Lord, about Zichen," Haydn looked at Wei Luo. Wei Luo thought for a moment and said, "Since that's the case, let's try first and see if he has the ability. How about this? You tell him that Caleb is dead. All his inns are empty and ownerless. If he's willing to take over, all the inns will belong to him." Wei Luo's face changed when he heard this. "Lord, I'm afraid that's not appropriate. Many people are eyeing those inns in Gal. That's a real piece of fat meat." "Fat meat is indeed delicious, but you need to have an appetite, right?" Wei Luo said. "Didn't he want to stay for a long time?" "Naturally. He has to show the corresponding strength. If he's not capable, then he deserves to die." Haydn nodded, indicating that he understood. "You will be in charge of this matter. You must tell him all the properties. How much he can get back will depend on his ability." "Yes." In the evening, Haydn returned to the inn and asked the waiter to find Zichen. Haydn held 2 pots of wine. "This time I'll treat you. At the same time, I'll tell you a piece of good news." "Oh." Zichen sat down. Little Bamboo was still cultivating in the room. Haydn said, "I met with His Excellency before. When he heard about you, he was a little surprised because he thought that you might leave soon. However, my lord said that it's better if you don't leave. That way, the dead Gale can hand over the inns under his control to you. Hand them over to me." Zichen was stunned. He didn't dare to believe it. "Yes, this is what His Excellency said. If you have the ability, you can run those inns better." Zichen looked at Haydn. "Running an inn requires ability?" To be honest, when Gale obtained that large piece of land and used it to build inns, the use of connections far surpassed ability. Now that he's dead, those places have become ownerless. Everyone wants them. During this period of time, others have been secretly competing with each other, intending to divide them up. Haydn looked at Zichen. "Therefore, His Excellency gave them to you. Naturally, you need ability to take them over." Zichen nodded. He understood. "I'll take you to see them. After that, 50% of the inn's profits will be handed over to His Excellency Wei Luo." Haydn said, "In the past, it was 30%. That was because everything here was built by Gale. Now that you're taking over the ready-made ones, the profits will be higher." "Oh, right. His Excellency also said that if you want to rebuild that collapsed place, you'll only get 10% of the profits." Zichen asked, "Only the profits from running the inn?" Haydn naturally understood Zichen's meaning. He nodded. "Of course, only the inn. Before you came, Gale's and had no problems running, and there were no other unexpected situations. Zichen believed that all the unexpected people should have been dealt with." "Okay, take me to see it tomorrow." Zichen agreed. In fact, he didn't care much about the inn's profits. He still chose to agree because if he left one day, Xiao Zhu would be able to survive. What he was really interested in was the adventurers who didn't earn the light of law the most or looking for a pure land. Because in addition to being the master of a pure land, one could also sell a pure land, provided that the buyer could pay a sufficient price. Haydn didn't say anything, but Zichen could guess what he was going to do, and that was to plunder a pure land. Early in the morning the next day, Haydn brought Zichen to that street. Haydn stood at the entrance of the street and pointed ahead. "From here, All the inns you see used to be Gale's territory, but now they are yours. The entire street was filled with them. Zi-Chen looked at Haydn. Help me inform the managers of the inns and tell them to come here with the account books. Haydn was stunned. Zi-Chen was treating him as a subordinate? Zi-Chen saw Haydn's strange expression and said, If you don't have time, give me that waiter of yours. I think he's quite clever. Fine. You're not familiar with this place at first. I'll take you to familiarize yourself with it. Haydn walked forward. He had never been to such a dirty and messy place. Even if he was mentally prepared, he still frowned. Zi-Chen stood at the entrance of the street. Perhaps he disliked the environment, but he didn't enter. After a while, 13 people came over. They were all holding account books in their hands. Their eyes were a little nervous as they followed behind Haydn. 13 inns. Including the original open space, there are 14 in total. Haydn walked over and said. Zi-Chen nodded and then threw a pot of wine to Haydn. Thanks. Haydn smiled. He got a pot of good wine just by walking around. He was in a good mood and couldn't wait to run a few more errands. Zi-Chen looked at the managers and smiled. Hello, everyone. I'm Zi-Chen. I was the one who killed that Gale. Now that he's dead, the territory is mine. Now you're under my control. He pointed to the account books in their hands and said, Before looking at the things in your hands, I'll tell you my rules. If you make false accounts, I won't expel you, because I'll kill you directly. If you have family members, I'll kill all the men and keep the women. The 13 managers' faces all changed. They didn't expect that the new master's opening statement was to kill. Such a straightforward and powerful warning. I don't care if you've communicated with other people, because there's no need. I'll take care of this place. If they dare to cause trouble, I'll kill them all. Zi-Chen said, People who can take a fancy to Gale's property are destined to not have much ability. Well, take your account books back. Tomorrow, go to his inn and find me. Then you'll report to me. Zi-Chen waved his hand and then turned to leave. The 13 shopkeepers felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. Chapter 52:15. Haydn followed Zi-Chen back. At this moment, he was full of admiration for Zi-Chen. 13 inns, 13 shopkeepers. Zi-Chen didn't look at the account book. He only said a few words and let them go back. He believed that when they came back tomorrow, the account book would be different from today's. Of course, if anyone dared to take the risk and test the weight of Zi-Chen's words, Zi-Chen would definitely take the opportunity to make an example out of them. Haydn followed Zi-Chen and couldn't help but ask curiously, How do you plan to manage those inns next? Zi-Chen glanced at Haydn. You want to know? Haydn nodded. As a businessman, he naturally wanted to see. Not to mention others. Just those 13 inns would make a lot of money every year. They didn't need to be handed over to others. Although that street was dirty and messy, the ability to earn light of law wasn't weak at all. Because there were too many people who didn't have a tomorrow. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people envious. Let's see tomorrow. Back at the inn, Xiao Zhu was still refining the light of law. Actually, under normal circumstances, Zi-Chen should find a place for her to consume her energy and then refine it. But there wasn't time for that yet. The next day, the 13 shopkeepers came and waited outside the inn early in the morning. When the waiter saw these people, he was obviously shocked. In his eyes, these were all big shots. Zi-Chen walked down from upstairs. He glanced at the 13 people and said, I thought you would come one by one. The 13 shopkeepers immediately bowed. They still had to show the necessary respect for this big shot. Zi-Chen glanced at the 13 people and said, You are people from Galei. In fact, I don't want to use you from the bottom of my heart. Haydn also came when Zi-Chen said this. He stood in the distance and didn't come to disturb. The 13 people's expressions changed slightly. Zi-Chen continued, Because my business philosophy will be completely different from what you've done in the past. But if I just fire the 13 of you, you will definitely cause some trouble. As for me, I can also use these things to kill you." The 13 people's faces immediately turned pale. They could tell that this was not a warning, but a very casual mention of this matter. This meant that this was very likely to happen. But if that's the case, I still have to find a few more shopkeepers and check their character. It's really too troublesome, so I might as well use you guys first. Who knows? Maybe you guys will be very obedient. Zichen glanced at them and said, "But even though I'm using you, I still hope that 2 or 3 of you can cause some trouble for me so that I can kill you. At the same time, you can also warn the others. This will make it easier for me to manage them. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey." He said it so straightforwardly. The 13 people's hearts skipped a beat. They couldn't see through this lord anymore. Xiao Er stood to the side. After hearing these words, his face was filled with admiration. As expected of a big shot, his words were so direct. Zichen continued, "While I'm looking at the account book, you can give your own opinions at any time. For example, if you feel that the number on the book is too small, you can add another number. Before that, I won't pursue the matter. But if I find out about it later, I'm sorry, but you have to die. You have to die, and so do your families. Believe me, I killed Gale without batting an eye. It's the same for you guys." Zichen smiled. "Most importantly, I won't get any other benefits from killing Gale. But it's different if I kill you. I'll search your residence and take all your wealth." This was a threat, but it was also a fact. The 13 people's faces changed again. 2 of them even had a look of horror on their faces. Zichen looked at one of them and said, "Give me the account book. I'll start with you. The rest of you can continue to consider." The shopkeeper directly knelt down and said in horror, "My lord, the number on the book is wrong. You need to add another 4,800 light of law. 4,800 points could be exchanged for 480 light of law." Zichen didn't say anything. He opened the account book and started to check it. There were no detailed notes on it, but there were the number and size of the rooms, as well as the charging standards. There were also other staff expenses and various other expenses. With Zichen's calculation ability, he could still make a rough calculation. After a rough calculation and adding those numbers, it was more or less enough. Of course, this didn't include the loot from their robbery. Zichen turned his head and looked at the waiter, saying, "Come, help me add this number." The waiter quickly trotted over and added some numbers. Then Zichen looked at the person on the far left. "It's your turn." The other party handed over the account book and said, "My lord, I just calculated again. I have to add a little more. 1,353 points." Zichen didn't say anything. He first looked at the numbers on the book. After feeling that it wasn't too much of a difference, he let the waiter add it. 13 people, one by one. Zichen looked at the account book one by one. The numbers on it were also increasing. The highest number was as high as 6,000 points. The rest were 1 or 2,000 points, equivalent to 1 or 200 light of law. Zichen looked at the last person. "It's your turn." That person handed over the account book and didn't say anything after that. Zichen looked carefully and found that every expense was recorded in detail. Until the end, he didn't see the other party take the initiative to report. "What's your name?" Zichen glanced at him. That person said, "My lord, I'm called Loran." Zichen put down the account book and nodded. After looking through the 13 account books, he found that the number of light of law on them had exceeded 300,000 points, which was 30,000 light of law. Such an amount was still very shocking to him. This didn't include the ones they robbed during the day. Zichen said, "According to the rules, take 30% of the original amount and turn it over." The 13 people nodded. Hayden frowned slightly, because, according to the previous agreement, they had to take out half of it. Zichen suddenly looked at the waiter and asked, "What do you think of Rat Road Street?" The waiter was stunned. He clearly didn't expect Zichen to ask such a question. Zichen smiled. "I'm just saying, don't be nervous. There are a lot of people there. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's the busiest street. It's just that the environment isn't very good. The waiter thought for a while and said. Zichen asked, "Then how many light of law do you think it'll take if the road there is repaired?" The waiter said, "Probably 100 or 200. Zichen looked at the person called Laurent. "What do you think? If the road is repaired, how many light of law do you think it'll take?" If it's simple, 100 light of law won't be enough. If it's slightly better, it'll take about 300. If it's like this street, 1,000 won't be enough. This was already a good place. Zichen needed 2 light of law to stay here for 1 night. If it was Rat Road Street, he could stay for 20 nights. Chapter 52:16. Lawrence's eyes flashed with a strange look, and the other shopkeepers were also very surprised. They did not expect that the first thing this lord did was not to take away all the light of law, but to take out the light of law to repair the road. Clearly, it was not a simple road repair, but a good repair. This was a long-term plan. Zichen said, "I don't have extravagant hopes for the same standards as here, but I definitely can't fool you." Laurent immediately nodded. Zichen said again, "How much is your current remuneration?" Everyone then talked about their respective remuneration, which was more or less about 10 strands of power a month. The waiter who was registering at the side was very envious when he heard this. Zichen said, "From now on, if you are willing to stay, your remuneration will be tripled." The group of shopkeepers did not dare to believe it. Was this lord so generous? Could it be that there were some conditions? Sure enough, Zichen said again. However, from today onwards, all the inns on that street are not allowed to have any robberies. Zichen stared into the eyes of these shopkeepers. As long as there is a robbery, the inn's shopkeeper will be expelled. If there is a theft, the shopkeeper will be responsible for the investigation. If there is no investigation, then the shopkeeper will pay for it. Haydn's eyes flashed with a hint of shock. He saw a big change. If this matter could be done, then the reputation of that street would naturally change. There were originally a lot of people there, and if there were no safety issues, he believed that there would be even more people gathering there. But the premise was that this matter could be done, because it involved too great of a benefit. Therefore, the following work will definitely not be easy. If you are willing to resign, you can leave now, and I will give you 3 more months of remuneration. Zichen's voice gradually turned cold. But if you choose to continue, then you have to be responsible for your own actions. To put it bluntly, in the future, you will no longer be able to scam money from Rat Road Street. If anyone violates the rules, once I find out, regardless of whether the shopkeeper instigated it or not, the shopkeeper will die. Zichen waved his hand and said, "Go, consider it carefully and give me an answer tomorrow. As for Laurent, you will start looking for people to repair the road today." "Yes, my lord." Laurent took his account book and turned to leave. This lord was clearly different from the previous Jalais. After the shopkeepers left, Haydn walked over and asked, "Why?" Zichen said, "Since we're doing business, we naturally have to consider the long term." Haydn said their previous model was actually quite profitable. In fact, from a certain point of view, other than the huge consumption of resources, your gains are actually not that great. Zichen smiled faintly. "But if we do this, won't more people be able to live?" Haydn was stunned. He looked at Zichen in confusion. Zichen said, "Others don't affect your ability to make money. Since there's a way to let more people live, why let them die?" Haydn nodded with a smile. He completely understood what Zichen meant. With Zichen in charge of that street, it might be a good choice. Zichen glanced at the waiter and said, "Follow me from now on." The waiter was stunned and felt slight disbelief. Was his lordship inviting him? He was stunned. "What, you're not willing?" Zichen asked with a smile. The waiter hurriedly shook his head, but then he looked at Haydn. Haydn said, "This is your opportunity." "Many thanks, my lord." The waiter immediately bowed to Haydn, then to Zichen. "Zack greets my lord. Go find Laurent now and follow him. Watch how he does things. Pay him 3 strands of astral magic power per month. Wait until you become a shopkeeper." "Many thanks, my lord." The waiter was very excited. Not far away, the shopkeeper of this inn had a look of envy in his eyes. His luck was really good. That was because the innkeepers of those inns were paid 3 times the amount, which was even higher than his. To tell the truth, he was tempted. He immediately changed his clothes and left the inn to find Laurent. "What do you plan to do with that empty place?" Haydn asked. "I haven't thought about it yet." Haydn hesitated for a moment, then said, "Your reform this time has great prospects, but it has to go smoothly." Zichen understood Haydn's meaning. There were too many people in Rat Road Street, so there was a lot of partial wealth. Zichen's move was to cut off all the partial wealth. But where would so many people dare to take partial wealth? Even a shopkeeper could mobilize 500 strands of light. It could be seen that he had a lot to rely on. This kind of reliance was not only limited to the dead Caleb. Haydn left and went to find Wei Luo to inform him of Zichen's plan. Wei Luo said, "So, not only did he cut off a part of our wealth, he also secretly appropriated some of the light of law. He even reduced my share by 20%. At this moment, the 13 families had already handed over 30% of their light of law. Wei Luo's expression was naturally not good. Haydn said, "My lord, I can see a revolution. In the future, there should be fewer deaths in Rat Road Street." Wei Luo snorted. "So this is the reason for deducting 20% of my resources? What does the life and death of others have to do with me? Also, without partial wealth, how will those who make a living survive?" A cold light flashed in Wei Luo's eyes. "Originally, I wanted to see if he had the ability. Now he even dares to have ideas about me. It seems that his ability is not small. Could it be that my lord wants to take back that street?" Haydn looked at Wei Luo. Wei Luo snorted coldly. "I'm not going to go back on my words. However, he dares to deduct my things. His courage is not small. Go back and tell him that I've changed my mind. I want 60% of the profits." Haydn nodded. It was as he had guessed. Zichen's move was good, but it was only targeted at the ordinary people. It was not good for those who benefited. Partial wealth was still wealth. Haydn passed the message to Zichen. Zichen did not say anything. The next day, he had people send out another 30% of the profits. Rat Road Street began to rest and reorganize. At the same time, a series of orders were issued, which naturally caused a lot of dissatisfaction. Moreover, the people below might not listen to them. As a result, chaos appeared one after another. Zichen did not have anyone by his side that he could use, so he could only act personally. In order to get things done once and for all, he directly killed people. He killed them one by one until he reached the shopkeeper. Looking at the frightened shopkeeper, Zichen said, "You shouldn't have stepped forward." With that, the shopkeeper's head left his body. Rat Road Street. Of the 14 shopkeepers, the second one had died. Little fool Zack was immediately appointed as the new shopkeeper. Xiao Zhu, who was cultivating in her room, was also called out by Zichen. She would be supervising Rat Road Street from now on. Chapter 52:17. The hired thugs of the 13 inns were all dismissed. Rat Road Street announced to the outside world that it could guarantee the safety of everyone's belongings. There would be no more loss of items or danger of being robbed. This piece of news caused quite a stir. Everyone knew what Rat Road Street was like in the past. Anyone who had some savings would be shot to death in one night as long as they stayed there. Even though the announcement was made, not many people believed it. However, the changes in Rat Road Street were noticed by everyone. The streets were still narrow, but the roads were cleaned up and became incomparably clean. It was poles apart from the original dirty and messy streets. Zichen's deterrence also deterred the other shopkeepers who had crooked thoughts. Killing the shopkeeper wasn't the end. He also captured the dead shopkeeper's family. It was a woman with a fierce expression. "You're the one who killed my husband? When Lord Cody returns, you'll be dead. Cody will definitely kill you. Now you better let me go." The woman's eyes were fierce. Facing Zichin, she didn't have the slightest fear. Zichin nodded and said with gratification, "Thank you." The woman was dumbfounded. She was threatening him, and he was thanking her? Could it be that he had become a fool? In the next moment, the woman lost her head. Zichin, who couldn't bear it before, didn't have any psychological burden when he saw such a rude and unreasonable woman. That's right. How could someone who dared to commit a crime be an ordinary person? As for who that Cody was, Zichin didn't care. He only knew that this place was called Ocon's Pure Land. The only person he was afraid of was the Pure Land's master, Ocon. Killing the chicken to warn the monkey undoubtedly frightened the other shopkeepers, because Zichin really did it. When one person made a mistake, his family would be implicated. Soon, 3 people proposed to leave. Zichin didn't urge them to stay. He gave them 3 more months of salary as promised. They parted on good terms. Next, he promoted 3 more shopkeepers. Everything was slowly going on the right track. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. However, everyone knew that they were just waiting for some big shots to return. Zichin was still staying in Hayden's Inn. He didn't participate much in the development of Rat Road Street. In one night, Okang came back. He was badly injured. After entering the Pure Land, he returned to the depths and began his seclusion. He had no time to care about the matters in the Pure Land. Cody, who had returned with Ocon, was the first to learn of Gal's death. "How dare you?" His expression was a little gloomy. "What right does he have to casually give our property to an outsider?" The next day, an uninvited guest came to Hayden's Inn. "Who's Zichin? Get out here." A cold voice rang out. Hearing this voice, Zichin opened his eyes. He knew that trouble was coming, so he headed downstairs. "Are you Zichin?" Cody glanced sideways at Zichin. "You're the one who killed Galii? Rob him of Rat Road Street?" Zichin said, "Galii was indeed killed by me. However, Gal asked me to take care of Rat Road Street." He guessed that this should be Cody, but he clearly didn't have any intention of standing up for the shopkeeper. If the dead shopkeeper's wife knew about this, who knew how she would feel? "You don't have the right to manage Rat Road Street," Cody said coldly. "If you dare to interfere with Rat Road Street's matters again, I'll wring your head off." Zichin said calmly, "Gal asked me to take care of Rat Road Street. If you have a different opinion, you can talk to Gal. If he passes on the message, I'll naturally leave." Cody's eyes narrowed. "What? My words don't have any effect on you? I don't know you, so your words naturally don't have any effect. In the matter of Rat Road Street, I only recognize Gal. Do you want to die?" Killing intent flashed across Cody's eyes. Zichin's expression didn't change at all. Facing the threat, he didn't even blink. "Before you convince Gal to take back his order, Rat Road Street will be under my management. Therefore, they have to follow the rules I set." "Good, very good." Cody said coldly, "Your rules, right? I want to see what kind of rules you have." With that, Cody turned and left. Zichin followed him out. Of course, he wasn't going to send him off, but to Rat Road Street. Halfway there, he saw Hayden, who had rushed over. Hayden came to Zichin's side and said in a low voice, "Cody is at the 6th level of spirit technique. He has always been by Lord Ocon's side and has gained his trust. However, he doesn't participate in the management of the Pure Land. Everything is decided by Lord Gal." Zichin nodded and didn't say anything. "This time, the reason why he's targeting you should be related to Gal's death. All this time he's been protecting Gal." Zichin nodded again and still didn't say anything. However, after walking a few steps, Zichin suddenly asked, That Cody is obviously going to cause trouble. Go ask Lord Gal if he's going to leave him half alive or just let him die. Haydn's expression changed greatly. Was he that confident? I'll go back and ask. This matter was of great importance. He didn't dare to be negligent and directly brought the message to Lord Gal. Lord Gal sat there and looked at Haydn. Do you think he's really confident or just bluffing? Haydn said, I'm not too sure, but for this matter, we'd rather believe it's true than not. If Zichen really has the strength, then Lord Cody. Actually, Haydn believed that Zichen wouldn't joke around. However, he couldn't say it now because it would boost his morale. Go tell Cody not to be impulsive. Just say that since I gave Rat Road Street to Zichen, it will be Zichen's in the future. So, don't go looking for trouble with Zichen again, lest you lose your life. Just pass the message. As for whether he listens or not, don't worry about it. Haydn said in an even more tactful tone. Cody sneered. Why? Do you think I'm afraid of him? He's just an outsider. What can he do to me? Zichen personally oversaw Rat Road Street and prepared to deal with the upcoming trouble. That night there was a sudden shout. I lost my light of law. Who stole my light of law? Didn't you say that there won't be any more theft? Why did I lose my light of law? The voice was so loud that it woke up everyone who was sleeping soundly. Zichen also heard the commotion and walked over to the inn. He saw the person who was shouting and yelling. The innkeeper was dealing with the matter, but that person obviously didn't listen. He pointed at the innkeeper's nose and cursed. Mother asterisk her. Didn't you say that you won't lose anything? Now, I've lost 100 light of law. What do you say? I worked so hard to earn that money. You better find the thief now, or you'll have to compensate me. The other party held his head high, and his attitude was very arrogant. The innkeeper was a bit troubled. He was clearly here to cause trouble, so where could he find the thief? If it was any other day, those hired thugs would obediently shut up, even if they lost their light of law. Are you sure you have 100 light of law? Just as the innkeeper was at a loss, an indifferent voice rang out. Chapter 52:18. As this voice sounded, everyone looked towards the door. Zichen walked in. The innkeeper hurriedly saluted. The others guessed Zichen's identity and also saluted with shock in their eyes. Zichen walked closer and looked at the person who shouted, Are you sure you have 100 light of law? The person didn't dare to look at Zichen, but he wasn't afraid either. He directly shouted, Of course, 100. Zichen continued, 100 light of law isn't a small number. Where did you get it? The person said, Why do you care where I got it? You just need to compensate me. Zichen smiled. Of course I have to ask clearly. Otherwise, if a random person comes and says he lost the light of law, what should I do? You're considered a coward. If it's someone more daring, saying he lost 1,000 light of law, and then another person came and lost 3,000 light of law, would our inn still be open? Zichen's eyes gradually turned cold. I believe you should know very well what the inn was like in the past. The reason why it's changed now is to allow more people to live better. However, it seems that not everyone thinks that being able to live is a good thing. After hearing Zichen's words, the eyes of the people who were originally watching the show changed. Indeed, when someone used to live here, even if someone lost the light of law, they didn't dare to say anything. Moreover, this guy in front of them didn't look like someone who had 100 light of law. He was obviously here to cause trouble. What? Are you saying that you don't want to admit it? The person said with disdain. If that's the case, then don't act like you want to change. I advise you to quickly close the door. Zichen said, Whether you lost the light of law or not, you know very well in your heart. It's naturally impossible for me to find out where you lost it. Hearing this, the person laughed. So, you want to cheat? No, as long as you can prove that you have more than 100 dowlights, I'll compensate you. Zichen took out a pouch and opened it. Since I said so, I will naturally abide by it. If you can prove that you have 100 Dao Law lights, then these 200 Dao Law lights will all be yours. Looking at the radiant light of law, the other party's eyes flashed with greed. Now, you just need to tell me when and what did you do to obtain 100 light of law. Zichen said, say it, and it's yours. When the other party heard this, he asked, really? Zichen said, I Zichen never lie. The other party said, this morning, Zhao San gave me 100 light of Dao. Why did he give you 100 Dao law lights? Do you have to ask? Naturally, I have to ask in detail. I'll help him. I'll help him. Many thoughts flashed through the other party's mind because he was quickly thinking about what to do to obtain 100 light of law lights. Right, I helped him kill a person he hated very much. He gave me 100 light of law lights as a reward. After saying this, the other party said proudly, now it's time to give it to me, right? Zichen said, I still have something to say just now. If what you said is true, I can give you the light of law lights. But if it's false, then you have to die. The other party's expression suddenly changed. A cold light flashed in Zichen's eyes, and immediately a pressure fell on the other party. Tell me, where is Zhao San and the person you killed? If I can't find them, you have to die. Even Cody can't protect you. When the other party heard this, he directly collapsed to the ground. Spare me. He made up what he said just now. Before coming, no one told him that the other party would ask in such detail and even find someone to verify it. Therefore, when he sensed Zichen's aura, he was completely afraid. Sir, spare me. He was incomparably terrified. The others at the side looked at the other party coldly. It was not easy for the inn on Rat Road Street to have some changes. This was naturally a good thing for those ordinary people. They did not expect that someone would want to destroy it. Tell me, who did it? A trace of killing intent flashed in Zichen's eyes. Tell me the person behind this, and I'll spare your life. It's Luo Si. He asked me to come. The other party was afraid and said this name. This is impossible. Hearing this name, the shopkeeper's expression could not help but change. Zichen turned to look at the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper said, Luo Si is the shopkeeper of the east end of Rat Road Street. Let's go. Zichen pulled up the kneeling person. If you're telling the truth, I guarantee that you won't die. These 200 light of law lights are also yours. Sir, I guarantee that I'm telling the truth. If I'm lying, I'm willing to be struck by lightning. Zichen's expression was calm, but he was furious in his heart. He was not afraid of others coming to find trouble. But if there was a problem with an insider, then he had to be punished. The group of people came to the east end, and that existence immediately pointed at Luo Si and said, Sir, it's him! Seeing the group, Luo Si's face immediately turned pale. What nonsense are you talking about? What do I have to do with you? Sir, I'm telling the truth. He gave me 10 light of law and asked me to put on a show. He said that he would reward me afterwards. The other party immediately took out a small cloth bag and said, Sir, the 10 light of law are here. Zichen looked at Luo Si. Luo Si's face became incomparably pale. Sir, don't believe him. He's lying. Zichen said, Your actions will not only kill you, but also implicate your family. I gave you a chance. Why didn't you cherish it? Seeing the killing intent in Zichen's eyes, Luo Si panicked and immediately shouted, Sir, save me! Sir Cody, save me! Pooh! A light flew past, and Luo Si's head left his body. Blood spurted out, dyeing the surroundings red. The surroundings were in an uproar. They did not expect Zichen to attack, just like that. Zichen, said Laurent. Sir. Laurent appeared behind Zichen. The previous commotion was so big that all the shopkeepers of Rat Road Street came. Zichen said coldly, Find his family and kill them directly. Then bring back all the light of law. Yes, sir. Laurent immediately responded with cupped fists. He could feel Zichen's anger. Also, if anyone obstructs, go find Sijia and let him deal with it. If he's not willing to help, tell him that I'll beat him to death. Yes. Zichin added, also, tell the other shopkeepers to give them another chance to choose. If they want to leave, give them 3 more months of remuneration. Yes. Loran nodded. In fact, all the shopkeepers were here. Oh my, you look like you're quite a snob. Those who don't know would think that you're something amazing. Right at this time, a mocking voice sounded. However, who the hell do you think you are? You dare to kill people here? Zi-Chun turned his head and looked at the person. It was Cody. Zi-Chun asked, You arranged for this person? Cody sneered and said, What if I say no? Zi-Chun said coldly, then scram. Don't let me see you again, coward. A hint of killing intent flashed across Cody's eyes. Then what if it was me? Zi-Chun disappeared. A rumble sounded. Chapter 52:19. With a loud rumble, Cody flew out of the inn and fell to the ground. The newly repaired road had a new, human-shaped pit. Fresh blood spurted out from his mouth. Cody lay on the ground, staring at Zi-Chun. Zi-Chun lifted his foot and stepped on Cody's chest. Since you've already admitted it, then don't blame me. Zi-Chun began to exert force. The force entered Cody's body through his chest. His bones emitted cracking sounds. Cody smiled malevolently. I've underestimated you. If you have the ability, then kill me. To be able to defeat him in one move, it was enough to see how tyrannical Zi-Chun's strength was. Zi-Chun said, Do you know how Gale died? Is there a need for me to care about a dead person? If you have the ability, then kill me. Cody said coldly, After killing me, I want to see if you can have a foothold here. Zi-Chun smiled faintly. It seems that your life is only worth this Rat Road Street. Cody's expression suddenly changed. Since you think so lowly of yourself, then why should I think highly of you? Zi-Chun smiled coldly. Whether I want this Rat Road Street or not, it doesn't matter. Just like your life, whether I kill it or not depends on a single thought. However, since you don't take your life seriously, why should I take your life as mine? Killing intent flashed in Zi-Chun's eyes. He lifted his foot and heavily stomped down. So, since you're courting death, then I'll be a good person and grant you your wish. This time, he directly stepped on Cody's head. As if stepping on a watermelon, it was accompanied by a loud explosion. White and red splashed in all directions. Cody's body was twitching. There was no life left, only a conditioned reflex. Zi-Chun bent down and searched the other party's body. He found an exquisite beast skin pouch. After opening it, he found nearly 100 rays of light. These rays of light were even brighter, and the power they contained was also even purer. These were lost spirits. One ray of light was equivalent to 100 rays of light. The light in front of him was comparable to the light of 10,000 daos. Zi-Chun couldn't help but sigh. This was the fastest way to obtain resources. Tidy up. After saying this, Zi-Chun returned to Hayden's inn. Now that Cody was dead, he believed that no one else would dare to come looking for trouble, unless the master of the Pure Land, Okon, didn't want him to stay here. The next day, the news of Cody's murder had spread as soon as the sun had risen. When Wei Luo heard the news, his expression also changed. Did you see the situation of the battle? Was it very intense? Hayden said, I heard that Cody suddenly fell to the ground and then kept provoking Zi-Chun. In the end, Zi-Chun only used one foot to crush Cody's head. Where did this Zi-Chun come from? Even Cody, who was at the 6th level, was stomped to death. Could he be at the 8th or 9th level? When the other party came here, he first killed the 5th level gal, then the 6th level Cody, not giving them any face at all. Although there was an element of provocation between the two, this was Okon's Pure Land after all. As an outsider, shouldn't he accommodate the locals? Pass the word. If you don't want to die, don't go looking for trouble. Wei Luo said in a deep voice, I have to find the master and explain this matter clearly. After that, Wei Luo left and went directly to the depths. When he came to the core of the Pure Land, the spiritual power of heaven and earth here was more and more intense. As soon as he walked here, he heard a woman's wail and couldn't help but frown. It should be Cody's sister who had learned of Cody's death and was making a scene at the moment. Wei Luo coughed lightly and then walked in. A woman was looking at him with resentment. Wei Luo saluted Okon and shouted, Master! It's you killed Cody, the woman said coldly. I want you to pay with your life. Wei Luo gave a fist salute and said, Madam, I repeatedly reminded Cody not to provoke that Zichin, but he didn't listen. The woman said, It's you. If you had driven him away directly, would there be such trouble? Wei Luo did not respond this time. Obviously, this sentence was very idiotic. If he had driven Zichin away, he would probably be the one to die. That Zichin, what's his background? Okon asked. Wei Luo shook his head and said, I'm not sure, but I suspect he's from the upper realm. His current combat strength is unknown. The upper realm? Okon frowned slightly. Tell me about Zichin in detail. Before coming, Wei Luo had already inquired about it, including about Lil Zhu, and even went outside to look for Old Yao. He told him in full detail. After listening, Okon said, So he killed Gal because he brought that girl to Rat Road Street to experience it? Wei Luo said that's indeed the case. Okang continued, Then you gave Rat Road Street to him, and his first order was to forbid stealing and robbing. Wei Luo nodded again. I've always wondered why he brought a total stranger with him. Thinking about it carefully, he probably didn't want to see her die. Because once Zichin enters the Pure Land, you can imagine how many girls will be left by Old Yao's side. Okon said, How can there be such a person in the world? Did we meet a saint? First for an ordinary person, then for an ordinary person on a street. Why don't the saints save me too? Wei Luo did not respond. He could not tell whether this was a joke or a joke. Sir, he must have an ulterior motive for doing this. We must kill him, the woman beside him said immediately. Okon smiled and said, Tell me, if I give you to him, will he help me once? Huh. The woman was stunned. Sir, what did you say? Okon's face became gloomy. Here, women are the most worthless. You're not much better than other women, but you can live here and serve me alone. You're not like other women, serving everyone in order to survive. What do you think you're relying on? Beauty? Wrong, it's my pity. Haha, in that case, I'm also a saint. The woman's face became incomparably pale. Sir, you know that the other party is powerful, but you still want me to kill him. You don't want revenge. You want to kill me. Okon waved his hand and said, Wei Luo, she's yours. Wei Luo was slightly stunned. Why, you don't want it? Wei Luo reacted. Thank you, sir, for your reward. That Zichin, I'll personally go and see what kind of saint he is. Okon walked out of here and did not look at the woman again. Wei Luo smiled and said, Let's go. The woman looked at Wei Luo with resentment. Wei Luo stepped forward and slapped her. Be *TCH. I've wanted to slap you for a long time. Serve me well from now on, or I'll send you to Rat Road Street. Looking at the viciousness in Wei Luo's eyes, the woman was afraid. There was a hint of fear in her eyes. Wei Luo pulled her hair and dragged her back. When they returned to the residence, Wei Luo threw her directly on the bed and then pounced on her. In the room, the woman's screams kept coming out. Okon came to Hayden's inn. He sat on the first floor and ordered a pot of wine. In the room, Zichin opened his eyes. He felt the existence of Shur, so he walked down from upstairs. Chapter 52:20. Zichin stood at the top of the stairs. Okon sat in his seat. The two looked at each other, for eyes met. An inexplicable pressure, with the two as the center, surged out. In the inn, everyone felt an inexplicable pressure, and many people found it difficult to breathe. The shopkeeper's face was pale, squatting in the corner, too scared to say a word. The waiters were nowhere to be seen. On the first floor of the inn, there seemed to be only two people left in an instant. The atmosphere was strange, and swords were drawn. There was no need to guess. The one sitting there was the strongest person in this pure land. Okon. Okon stretched out his hand, saying, "Sit." As soon as the sentence came out, the pressure in the inn disappeared in an instant. The shopkeeper in the corner was sweating profusely, as if he had just experienced a life-and-death crisis. Zichen slowly went down the stairs. His expression seemed calm, but his mood was fluctuating greatly. Just a moment ago he felt threatened. This was the first time someone had threatened him since he came here. Zichen sat opposite Okon, took the initiative to pour himself a cup of wine, and then looked at Okon, waiting for him to continue. Okon said, "I heard that you have good wine on you." Zichen drank the wine in the cup in one gulp. A light flashed in his hand, and a pot of wine appeared. After opening it, the fragrance of the wine overflowed. Okon laughed. "It is indeed good wine." Looking at the other's intoxicated expression, as if he really came to ask for wine, Zichen took the initiative to say, "Sir, you came because of Cody's death." Okon put down the wine cup, yes and no. Zichen looked at Okon, waiting for him to continue. "Cody provoked you, and you killed him. He deserved it. I believe that if it was anyone else, they would not let him go." Okon said, "This kind of brainless idiot is not worthy of my special attention. In fact, I'm very glad that such an idiot died early. In the future, if he were to poke a hole in the sky because of his own stupidity, then he wouldn't be the one to die." Zichen nodded and agreed with Okon. "I came here mainly to meet you, or rather, to meet the saint." Saint? Zichen was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't quite understand the meaning behind these words. "The people here believe in every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost." Okon said, "Ever since we gained consciousness, we have been like this. As long as there is profit, we don't need to consider others. As for sacrificing oneself for others, we have only heard of such things in legends. We call such people saints." Zichen said, "I'm not a saint." "No, from what I've heard, you are the legendary saint." Okon looked at Zichen. "Otherwise, why would you do such a thankless thing? She was just a wild girl. She could fend for herself. But Zichen didn't, and brought her to the Pure Land. Afraid that she would go astray, he personally brought her to experience the dangers of the world. If Rat Road Street developed according to its original plan, everyone would be able to earn light of law, and there would only be more and not less. But Zichen didn't. He chose another path." Looking at Okon's serious expression, Zichen's expression also became serious. "In any case, we are all earning light of law. I just feel that we can earn more this way. As for sacrificing oneself for others, I have never thought of that. That's absolutely impossible." Okon said, "If we are talking about business, the method we choose can maximize the benefits." Zichen smiled and said, "Take Little Bamboo, for example. If I didn't bring her here, she would have died long ago and would have no value. But after coming here, she became a spirit cultivator and has great potential in the future. The light of law I invested in, compared to her future gains, is not even a hair from 9 oxen." Okon naturally didn't think so. There were too many uncertain factors in this. He asked, "If you were the master of the Pure Land and faced danger, what would you do?" Zichen didn't even think and said, "Naturally, I would protect the Pure Land well. If I encountered a crisis that I couldn't resolve, I could only try to see if I could protect the Pure Land to the greatest extent." "For example?" Okon looked at Zichen. Zichen said, for example, I would leave the Pure Land behind so that the people inside can live. Zichen had done such things many times. Okon said, why not just destroy the Pure Land? It's better to die in glory than to live in dishonor. Zichen smiled and said, since it's my Pure Land, it's naturally my home. The people I care about live there, as well as the people who trust me. Directly destroying it would be great. Moreover, preserving the Pure Land also preserves the possibility of the future. One day, when I become strong, I can take back the Pure Land. Okon said, are these your true thoughts? Zichen nodded. Okon stood up and said, after seeing you, I seem to have regained my confidence in this world. Perhaps I should also go out for a walk and see the wider world. After that, Okang left, but he didn't finish the wine. Zichen didn't know the other party's intentions, but he understood one thing. After Okon left, no one dared to come to Rat Road Street to cause trouble. Cody was killed, and the master of the Pure Land went to find Zichen. However, Zichen was still unscathed. This was enough to see many problems. Therefore, no matter how many people were thinking about Rat Road Street before, they had no choice but to give up now. With Cody's example as an example, no one dared to steal from Rat Street again. Therefore, the reputation of Rat Road Street was spread back in a very short time. There were many poor people in the Pure Land. They all lived in places like Rat Road Street. It was different from the past. After having a few rays of light of law on their bodies, they lived in fear and trepidation. This time, with Zichen's promise, they openly stayed in the inns of Rat Road Street. Once the light of law was lost, they would go find the shopkeeper. With reputation, there would naturally be business. In the following days, the 13 inns of Rat Road Street were filled to the brim every day. Other than cultivating, Little Bamboo would also patrol this street. Currently, she was still at the first level of Spirit Dharma. Outside the Pure Land, a group of 5 people came. The leader of the black-robed man stared ahead. Are you sure there are no problems here? The latest news we heard is that the master of this Pure Land, Okon, was severely injured when fighting for the entrance last time. The person behind said, furthermore, in this Pure Land, other than Okon, there are only 2 8th level Spirit Dharma and 2 6th level Spirit Dharma. Hearing that, the black-robed man said, then there are no problems. He waved his hand and said, let's go. The group of 5 headed towards Okon's Pure Land. Walking to the entrance of the Pure Land, the guard saw the 5 people with unfriendly expressions and tactfully didn't go up to ask for the entrance fee. After the 5 people entered the Pure Land, they headed straight for the depths. Boom! A terrifying aura exploded in the depths. In this area, there was a special group of people. They hunted the master of the Pure Land and plundered the Pure Land for a living. Chapter 52:21. Powerful energy erupted from the depths of the Pure Land. The terrifying aura surged, and the Pure Land shook. Such a sudden change alarmed everyone. Everyone was at a loss, not knowing what had happened. Everyone, come to the depths of the Pure Land. Raiders have appeared. Okon's voice suddenly spread throughout the Pure Land. Everyone's expression changed greatly. Raiders. This was a group of terrifying existences that made a living by plundering the entire Pure Land. Wherever they passed, the lucky ones would leave behind a broken Pure Land. Most of the Pure Land would explode, and there would be countless casualties. Run, the raiders are here. Run quickly. It's over, it's completely over. The Pure Land was instantly in chaos, and the people living there began to flee. Once the Pure Land was destroyed, more than half of the ordinary people in the Pure Land would die. No one was willing to stay. When the chaos appeared, Zichen also walked out of the inn. Looking at the panicked crowd, he frowned, and suddenly remembered what Okon said before. Did he mean something? Sir, a cry of alarm sounded, and Xiao Zhu ran in this direction. Behind her, Laurent and the other shopkeepers, as well as some subordinates, followed. "Sir, the Pure Land is about to be destroyed." Xiao Zhu came in front of Ziqin and said, "The people here are about to die. Let's run quickly." Zichen looked at Laurent and the others with a calm expression. "Sir, these raiders specialize in hunting the Pure Land. Once they set their eyes on us, the Pure Land will most likely be destroyed." Laurent said, "Well, the battle hasn't spread here yet. Let's hurry and leave." Zichen asked, "Where to?" Laurent said, "No matter where to go, it's better than staying here and waiting for death." Zichen looked at them. In fact, he couldn't blame these people. They were all very weak, and besides running, there was no other way. But Zichen had a way. He looked at everyone and finally looked at Xiao Zhu and said, "Come, follow me inside to take a look." Xiao Zhu was stunned. Zichen didn't give her time to hesitate or refuse, and walked straight into the depths. Xiao Zhu followed. Laurent and the others stood there, motionless. This scene was very unexpected. They had thought that the Lord would take them away and choose the second Pure Land. "Shopkeeper, should we run?" Someone asked in a low voice. Laurent's expression changed, and then he cursed, "Run my ass! Let's go back and guard our property." It was obvious that Milord had gone to the depths to provide support. The other shopkeepers were stunned and found it hard to believe. "Go back," Zach, who used to be a waiter, said. "Protect our family business well." If it wasn't for Zichen, he wouldn't be where he was today. He believed in Zichen. "That's why I'm not leaving." The depths were a complete mess. The battle was extremely intense. One entity after another fell. One expert after another was killed. Of the 5 plunderers who came, each had a strong battle strength. Among them, there were 4 who were at the 9th level of spirit cultivation. The other was an even more powerful arcane annihilation. This kind of battle prowess was indeed beyond the strength of this Pure Land. Wei Luo, Haidan, and the others were all heavily injured. There were also many who died in battle. Okon stood there with a bloody hole in his chest. He looked at the black-robed man in front of him and said, "How about we have a discussion?" The black-robed man smiled coldly. "Discuss what?" Okon said, "I'm leaving. I'll leave the Pure Land to you. Treat the people here well, and this Pure Land." The black-robed man sneered, "Do you have the qualifications to talk to me like this?" Okon said again, "You know very well that I didn't use the power of the Pure Land. Otherwise, my battle strength would be even stronger. You might not be able to suppress me." The black-robed man had a look of disdain. "You only have the qualifications to say this when you're at your peak. You're injured. Even if you use the power of the Pure Land, you definitely won't be able to defeat me. Otherwise, why would I come here?" Ao Kong sighed and said, "You see, I've already said that in this world, this kind of method simply won't work. This world doesn't pay attention to this." The black-robed man frowned slightly. Okon's words were very clearly not directed at him. Okon still did not give up and said, "I'll give you all the wealth. How about leaving this Pure Land behind?" "Dream on," the black-robed man said coldly. "You all must die." A hint of madness suddenly appeared in Okon's eyes. Just looking around, looking at the people who were seriously injured and lying on the ground, as well as those who died in battle, a hint of reluctance appeared in his eyes for the first time. However, the outcome was already decided. Right at this time, a person walked over from afar. To be precise, there were 2 people. However, the person behind was automatically ignored. Sage. Seeing that person appear, the injured Wei Luo, Haydn, and the rest all had a hint of surprise on their faces, while Okon cried out loudly, his expression very excited. With the arrival of a sage, things might take a turn for the better. When Wei Luo and the rest heard this, their eyes also lit up. In the past, they were all worried that Zichen's battle strength was too strong, posing a threat to this Pure Land. Now, they only hoped that Zichen's battle strength would become stronger and stronger. "Sage," the black-robed man smiled faintly, This name is quite interesting." Then he waved his hand and said, "For let this sage see your strength." The man named for smiled coldly and walked towards Zichin. Buzz! A tyrannical aura completely erupted, and there was an additional pressure in the air. Feeling this pressure, Zichen's expression changed for the first time. 9th level spirit spell. Hearing this sentence, Wei Luo and the rest were in despair. It seemed that this was not a true expert. The 9th level spirit spell laughed. "What? Are you scared, silly? I thought you had some means to dare to come to this place. It turns out that you're just a hothead." The aura of the 9th level spirit spell was enough to suffocate everyone present. Right at this time, Zichen disappeared. The 5 black-robed men's faces changed for the first time. "Courting death!" The 9th level spirit spell shouted, crossed his hands and blocked. A tyrannical aura erupted. Boom! A huge tremor suddenly sounded, and the 9th level spirit spell flew out. He landed heavily on the ground. Zichen stood where the 9th level spirit spell was, his expression indifferent. The others were stunned. He could even fight against a 9th level spirit spell? 4. The black-robed man shouted. The 9th level spirit spell turned over and looked at Zichen, his eyes full of killing intent. "I want you to die!" Zichen's figure flashed and disappeared again. Another roar sounded. The 9th level spirit spell was hit in the chest, and his body bent like a shrimp as he flew towards the sky. Fresh blood splattered in the air. Zichen's voice also sounded at this time. "We're all 9th level spirit spell. Why are you so weak?" As his words fell, Zichen lifted his foot in the air and stomped down. Boom! The 9th level spirit spell's body directly smashed onto the ground. There was a human-shaped pit on the ground. Chapter 52:22. Boom! A terrifying shockwave swept out, and the 9th level spirit spell cultivator sank deep into the ground. Blood gushed out. His internal organs had all been shattered. His life force was extinguished. Everyone was stunned. He died just like that? A 9th level spirit spell cultivator was trampled to death just like that? How arrogant and insufferably arrogant was the other party just now. He died just like that? Following that, Hayden and the others had a touch of excitement on their faces. The situation might be reversed. Ocon was also very surprised, but then he laughed. If this was the case, the outcome of this battle might not be certain. He looked at Zichen and said, "I feel that I am beginning to believe in this world again." Zichen did not respond, but looked at the second 9th level spirit spell cultivator. The black-robed man narrowed his eyes and killing intent surged in his eyes. Swish! Ocon's figure flashed and came in front of the black-robed man. "Your opponent is me. Next, even if the Pure Land loses more than half, I will stop you." "The 3 of you kill him," the black-robed man snorted. "I don't believe that he can fight 1 against 3. The other 3 9th level spirit spell cultivators directly charged towards Zichen. The 3 of them joined forces. The terrifying shockwave formed directly sent Hayden and the others flying. Just the aura fluctuation alone was something they could not block. Zichen stood there motionlessly, waiting for the 3 to arrive. The 3 of them approached. One of them shouted angrily, "Courting death!" It was the first time for them to be underestimated like this. He slammed out a palm, and a terrifying palm print, carrying the aura of the 9th level, went straight for Zichen. Facing this palm, Zichen raised his hand. 2 fingers pressed down like a sword. Chi! A sharp light appeared. The sharp light moved forward and turned into a huge blade light, extremely terrifying. Mountain cutting technique. Gushan's move from back then, many years later, appeared in the Immortal Law world. The palm print in front was instantly split into 2. Following that, The light did not decrease in power and charged towards a 9th-level spirit spell cultivator. Puff! The body of the 9th-level spirit spell cultivator was directly split into two. The second person at the 9th level of spirit cultivation had died. At this time, the other two people, one on the left and one on the right, arrived in front of Zichen. Each of them attacked. Their palms were like blades, directly chopping towards Zichen's neck, intending to chop off Zichen's head. Zichen stood there, facing the attacks of the two without dodging. Their glowing palms landed on Zichen's neck one after another. However, their tyrannical strength did not manage to chop off Zichen's head. It was as if they were striking steel, and the recoil caused their palms to feel incomparable pain. When the two saw this, their faces couldn't help but change greatly, and they were about to retreat. At this moment, Zichen stretched out his palm and slapped the two of them on the head. With a loud explosion, the two of them were sent flying. After falling to the ground, there was no sign of life. Previously, Zichen had said that they were all at the 9th level of spirit cultivation, so why were they so weak? In the blink of an eye, the four of them were killed cleanly. Only the black-robed man was left. However, he was a powerful spell destroyer. Hayden and the others were extremely excited. At this moment, the situation had completely reversed. Even if they couldn't kill this person, as long as both sides worked together, there wouldn't be any problems protecting this pure land. Interesting, this is really interesting. The black-robed man glanced at Okon and then at Zichen. I didn't expect that today. I would be pecked in the eye by a wild goose, causing me to lose 4 subordinates. Following which, a cold intent flashed across the black-robed man's eyes. However, if you think that you already have victory in your grasp, then I can only say that you are childish. Zichen's eyes flashed slightly. His body suddenly shifted to the side, and then the aura around him exploded. Wow! The aura of the 9th level of spirit cultivation, but it was much stronger than the previous 4. Like an eruption of a mountain flood, the aura was surging. Zichen punched forward, and it looked like he was hitting the air. In the next moment, there was a huge tremor. A powerful shockwave spread out in all directions, and Zichen's body slid backwards. In front of him, the black-robed man's figure appeared. He looked at Zichen with a stunned face. "You can actually see me?" At this moment, the black-robed man in the distance disappeared. "Don't let him run away." Okon reacted and let out a loud shout. The pure land shook, and the spiritual power between heaven and earth gathered crazily towards Okon, and then pressed towards the black-robed man. In Zichen's perception, Okon, the master of the Pure Land, mobilized the power of the Pure Land. He wasn't surprised by this kind of fighting method. Sitting in the Pure Land, like the world lord of the 10,000 spiritual realm, could borrow the power of the world itself. "You are courting death." A murderous intent flashed in the black-robed man's eyes. The power of Spell Destroyer was then mobilized, and he immediately broke free from Okon's suppression. Swish! He didn't fight desperately but wanted to escape. At this moment, Zichen's foot tapped, and his figure soared into the air, and another punch fell. There was a loud boom. Okon was beaten back for the second time. Okon took the opportunity to punch down, and the black-robed man turned around to block. The fist light exploded in front of him. He also borrowed the force, wanting to escape. Thus, Zichen defeated the opponent for the 3rd time. Surrounding Luo and the others were shocked. It was just that the power displayed by Zichen, who was at the 9th level of spiritual cultivation, was too strong. In their view, Zichen could deal with the black-robed man with ease. But no one knew why Zichen didn't kill the black-robed man. Could it be that he wanted Okon to kill the other party? The black-robed man, who was beaten back, turned around and punched Okon. Even if he mobilized the power of the Pure Land, Okon still coughed up blood. He was injured previously, and now he was no match for the black-robed man. Haha, it seems that you can't kill me at all. The black-robed man laughed. If that's the case, then I'll leave. As soon as the words fell, the black-robed man's figure swayed in mid-air and disappeared. Ziqin, don't let him escape. Okon shouted. Once such an existence escaped, what followed would be a disaster. Seeing this, Ziqin could only reach out his hand again. This time it was no longer to stop. He directly attacked. 2 fingers slashed down. Heaven, cleaving technique. The light flew into the sky, directly tearing a huge gap there. The pure land was broken in one move. The black-robed man appeared. He turned his head and looked at Ziqin in disbelief. You! He only had time to say one word, and his body was split into 2 in midair and smashed to the ground. Dead. A Dharma destroyer died, just like that. At this moment, everyone was stunned. They were saved, and everyone's face should have been ecstatic. But at this moment, when they regained their senses, there was only fear in their eyes. At this moment, if Ziqin wanted to, he could kill everyone here. Then, the master of the Pure Land would naturally change hands. Ziqin didn't seem to see the fear in everyone's eyes. He walked in front of the dead Dharma destroyer and searched his body. He didn't find anything. Soon he saw the other party's ring and immediately took it off. After that, he didn't say anything and turned to leave. He only took the spoils of war from the Dharma destroyer and left the items of the other 4 9th-level spirit spell masters. Okon stood there, his face pale. Looking at Ziqin's back, he said emotionally, We really met an incredible existence. This is our luck. The others nodded. If Ziqin wanted, Okon's Pure Land would change its name today. But he obviously didn't. Turning to leave was his attitude. Okon said, If he wants, Rat Road Street will belong to him from now on. Chapter 52-23. Okon waved his hand and looked at Wei Luo with disdain. Do you think he cares about your little bit of light of law? Wei Luo was stunned when he heard that, then smiled bitterly and said, Yes, I'm shallow. Back then, I insisted on increasing the share, but he didn't care. Now that I think about it, it's really childish and laughable. Okon said, The so-called strong are for the common people of the world. He was like this before, and he's also like this when he reorganized Rat Road Street. On the side, a person staggered forward. Sir, I think his realm isn't as high as yours. Okon glanced at him. The others also had pity in their eyes. He really didn't know how to chat. That Ziqin was obviously not an ordinary person. Not to mention that the injured sir was no match for him. Wasn't that law destroyer also killed in one move? What was the use of having a high realm? Didn't he know that the strong could fight above their realm? If he doesn't leave, go and apologize to him. Okon looked at Wei Luo. Wei Luo immediately nodded. Then Okon said again, From now on, the price of entering the Pure Land will be increased by 3 times. Originally, it was 100 light of law per person, but now it was 300. When Wei Luo heard that, his eyes flashed with coldness. Sir is benevolent. This was not sarcasm, but the truth. Those people had run away earlier, and now they wanted to come back. 3 times the price was indeed benevolent. After all, they left when there was danger, and now that the danger was over, they wanted to come back. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Wei Luo was particularly concerned about this matter, so he immediately arranged for someone to guard the door. In order to avoid suspicion, Ziqin left and returned to Hayden's Inn. There was no one here. He looked at the counter, and the wine on it had been emptied. It seemed that Hayden's loss this time was not small. They should have all left. Xiao Zhu, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. It had been a long time since the battle ended, but her heart was still filled with shock and fascination. She hoped that one day she could become so powerful. Ziqin smiled slightly, then left and came to Rat Road Street. The streets of Rat Road were empty. However, as Ziqin appeared, one existence after another walked out of the inn. After seeing Zichen, immediately cheered. When the shopkeepers walked out of the inn and saw Zichen, they immediately bowed respectfully and called him sir. Zichen nodded at the crowd and said, "It's fine, get back to work." Even louder cheers sounded. "By the way, find me a room." "I'll be staying here from now on," Zichen said. "Sir, stay at my place." "My place? Bullsh asterisk T. Your place is a shared bed. How can people live there?" The shopkeepers were very these words at this moment. They sincerely, they was ye. The news quickly spread, and those who had not managed to escape in time rejoiced incomparably. If they had, they would have 100 of them. However, following that, another piece of news spread. From now on, the fee to enter the Pure Land would be increased to 300 daos of light. Luo Chin, as was ye. Outside the Pure Land, howls of grief filled the air. It was a stark contrast. Wei Luo came to the inn. The moment he saw Zichen, he cupped his fists and apologized. Zichen waved his hand and said, "It's fine. If it were me, I would do the same." Hearing Zichen's words, Wei Luo felt much more relieved. It seemed that Yi Shiwen didn't hold a grudge. He brought 2 pots of good wine with him. The two sat down and drank. Wei Luo said, "Before coming, Sir Okon said that from today onwards, Rat Road Street will be completely managed by you. There will be no fees during this period." Zichen nodded and didn't refuse his kindness. If he didn't accept it, Okon might not be able to feel at ease. Seeing Zichen nod his head, Wei Luo continued, "Actually, I came here with the intention of returning the light of law to you. But Sir Okon said that someone like you obviously doesn't care about these things." Zichen was stunned when he heard that. "You didn't even give it. How do you know what others think?" Wei Luo was also stunned. He looked at Zichen. The two looked at each other like this. Then Wei Luo tentatively took out those light of laws and said, "How about I return these to you?" Zichen reached out and grabbed the light of laws. Then he took it out. "Since Okon said that I'll be managing this place, then returning it to me is also right. If I don't accept it, it would seem pretentious." Finished speaking, Zichen accepted those light of laws. How much could a sir be worth? Obtaining these light of laws was enough for Lil Bamboo to refine. This made Wei Luo stare blankly. His Excellency really didn't regard himself as an outsider. But this wasn't a bad thing either. Taking things was better than not taking them. After drinking, Wei Luo returned to report. That night, the inns of Rat Road Street were all full. The reason was that those people who paid a huge price to return were practically embarrassingly short of money. They could only come to this place. In addition, the environment of Rat Road Street was indeed much better. The prices were low, and it was clean and tidy. It could naturally attract many people. The crisis was resolved. Everything returned to normal. Outside the Pure Land, another group of people arrived. Unlike the 5 raiders from before, this group of people was all injured. They walked towards Okon's Pure Land. 300 light of laws per person. The new person in charge directly said to these people, if it was the previous person, he would have been scared stiff by such a lineup. The group of people was slightly stunned, as if they weren't used to it. That person continued, "Our Pure Land just went through a great battle and killed several raiders. Therefore, Lord Okon said that the price for everyone who enters the Pure Land will be increased from the original 100 light of laws to 300 light of laws. Being able to kill a well-prepared raider was a surprise to all of them. They didn't say much. After giving the light of laws, they entered the Pure Land. These people clearly looked down on Rat Road Street and went to the inn on Hayden Street. In the next few days, injured existences came to Okon's Pure Land one after another. The originally quiet Pure Land became a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers in a short few days, because those injured people were all staying in inns to recuperate. Once they recovered from their injuries, they would become an extremely terrifying force. It shouldn't be a problem to overturn a Pure Land. Zichen didn't know about this. He had been staying in the inn on Rat Road Street. Currently, there wasn't a single spirit mage here. Very simple, they didn't like it. Those spirit mages didn't like this place, but Okon liked it. Today, he personally came to visit. The moment he saw Zichen, he took out a cloth bag. Zichen opened it in confusion and saw that there were 10 crystals inside. Instantly, the light illuminated the room. Surging energy flowed out. This is... Zichen looked at Okon. Crystallization of laws. Chapter 52-24. Zichen took out a law crystal, which contained even purer and richer heaven and earth energy than law spirits. It could be considered an advanced version. Okon said, "This one is equivalent to 1,000 law spirits. It's very easy to exchange the former for the latter, but it's much more difficult to exchange for a law crystal with law spirits." When Zichen heard this, his expression changed slightly. A law spirit was equivalent to 100 law lights. In that case, this law crystal was comparable to 100,000 law lights. Okon took out a total of 10 law crystals, which were equivalent to 1,000,000 law lights. He looked at Okon, waiting for him to continue. If it was just to thank him for last time, he would have come long ago and not wait until today. To be honest, there are too many people here this time, and I'm worried that some of them are plotting something. I hope you can guard the core of the Pure Land. Okon said with a worried expression, because once the core of the Pure Land is shattered, the Pure Land will disintegrate and eventually dissipate from this world. Obviously, he paid a high price to hire a bodyguard. Zichen said, "I've heard about those people. With my strength, I'm afraid I won't be able to fight them." Zichen knew what he was capable of. Okon said, "At the critical moment, I can give you the power of the Pure Land." Zichen was very surprised, because handing over the power of the Pure Land meant that the Pure Land would change owners. Looking at Zichen's doubtful eyes, Okon said, "If you really wanted this Pure Land, it would have been yours from the start. So, I trust you on this matter." Zichen put away the crystal and said, "I promise I'll do my best, but I won't protect it with my life." Okang laughed heartily. "Your words are enough." Zichen said, "May I ask why so many injured people came here?" Okon said in a deep voice, "To be honest, a new Pure Land was discovered nearby, and everyone came from there." Zichen looked at Okon. "So, the last time you were injured, you also came back from there?" Okon nodded. It was said that after the immortal spirit died, it would turn into a Pure Land. For the people who lived here, the Pure Land contained great wealth. Other than resources, some people were lucky enough to find treasures left behind by immortal spirits, which could be used to increase their own strength. Zichen and Okon walked towards the core of the Pure Land. Aside from humans, there were also ancestral beasts and mantis demons. I was injured by one of the mantis demons, so I had to retreat with everyone. Okon talked about the Pure Land while walking. Hybrid demons. Zichen was a little surprised. "What's that?" "There's another race that's our sworn enemy. We won't rest until we're dead." This reminded Zichen of the extra-legal demons. However, he did not ask whether extra-legal demons and fiends were the same. Once again, they came to the core. The spirit energy here was extremely dense. Okon brought Zichen to visit the core of the Pure Land. There were some buildings here that were built by Okon and his people. This place is already dense. After I used the spirit gathering array, the spirit energy became even denser. Okon said proudly, "Here, it's the same day and night. There's no need to worry about spirit energy consumption." Looking at the proud Okon, Zichen did not say anything. These buildings looked very beautiful, but if one carefully sensed the spirit arrays below, they were really ordinary. However, thinking about it, Zichen had obtained the inheritance of the Tao of divine inscriptions, and there were too many high-level arrays in it. Along the way, they met some beautiful maids. After seeing the two of them, these maids also stopped and knelt down to salute. After Okon waved his hand, they left. Zichen's soul power spread out in all directions, and this time he began to explore the depths of the core. Then he found that there were actually a lot of women. It seemed that Okon was very fond of this. Just after releasing his soul power, he found a strange place. The energy flow there was somewhat different, or rather, it was incompatible with this pure land. But Zichen felt a sense of familiarity. He originally thought that Okon would take him there to take a look, but Okon did not. It should be a strange place, and Zichen did not ask much. After that, he lived in the depths. In order to not be affected by Okon, Zichen deliberately lived in a farther place. Okon actually did not care. Along the way, he said that he would give his women to Zichen. At the same time, he said that sending maids was not good enough, and he could only send his women. He even asked Zichen to pick and take away whichever he liked. Zichen refused. He was not good at this. Next, Zichen lived in the depths of the Pure Land, on guard against someone suddenly attacking. As Okon said after coming here, his strength would almost never disappear. There was no need to worry about the night. This was much better than the periphery. Compared to the outside of the Pure Land, it was the difference between heaven and hell. As time passed, people recovered from their injuries, one after another. This Pure Land was immediately no longer peaceful. Where there were people, there would be Jianghu. Where there was Jianghu, there would be fighting. When enemies met, their eyes would be exceptionally red. A great battle broke out. After the battle, several inns on Haydn Street had collapsed. Hearing this news, Zichen could not sit still. His Rat Road Street had already collapsed an inn and had not been rebuilt yet. If someone destroyed a few more, it would be troublesome. It would affect business. Seeing that Zichen was about to leave, Okon hurriedly said, "Be careful. This is the enemy's diversion." Zichen waved his hand and said, "No matter. If there is an accident, I will rush over immediately." After hearing this, Okon became anxious. That Rat Road Street has almost no value. Why do you care? How about this? After this matter is over, I will build a street nearby and give it to you. Clearly, after the previous incident, Okon was completely afraid. He was worried about what if. Zichen refused. He repeatedly told Okon that if there was any danger, he would definitely rush over in time. Okon naturally did not agree. He thought to himself, "Why do you, Zichen, care about that lousy place?" Zichen said, "This might be the enemy's probing. If we don't go out to stop it, they might set the battlefield here in the next moment. Therefore, going out early might be a good way to resolve the crisis." Okon thought about it and felt that it made sense. He then said, "This is also good, but you have to take care of the other streets. Don't just look at Rat Road Street. After the matter is over, you can ask for any street you want. Rat Road Street is pretty good." Zichen left the depths and walked outside. After the first battle broke out, no one came out to stop it. The second battle soon broke out. The surrounding buildings were even more damaged. Zichen came out. His indifferent voice spread all around. "Okon's Pure Land forbids fighting. If you want to fight, go out and fight. But before that, compensate for the losses." This sentence quickly spread. The eyes of Hayden and the others who were vexed immediately lit up when they heard Zichen's voice. Was Lord Zichen going to make an appearance? "Who do you think you are? How dare you control us? A small, lousy place like this has rules? I will destroy this place on purpose. Come out and stand in front of me. Let's see if you still have the guts to speak." As Zichen's voice fell, loud curses immediately rang out. Chapter 52:25. Zichen's words were followed by a wave of scolding. No one was afraid of such a threat, and once one person scolded, the others started to scold as well. They had all recovered from their injuries and had some strength now. For a moment, the scolding continued. Zichen appeared from the scolding. He walked over from the street with a cold expression. "Those who violate the rules die." "Who do you think you are?" Immediately, a 6th-level spirit spell cultivator walked out. He pointed at Zichen's nose and said, "Dog, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? What kind of morals are you?" As the first bird to stand out, Zichen, of course, wouldn't hold back. He was like a ray of light, flying forward from the street. The 6th-level spirit spell cultivator also shouted and punched forward. "Huh!" A huge tremor sounded. The 6th-level spirit spell cultivator flew out. He landed 100 feet away. After crashing onto the ground, he started to cough blood, his eyes filled with shock. Zichen appeared beside him, his eyes cold. "Those who violate the rules die." With a stomp, the other party was trampled to death with a loud bang. A 6th-level spirit spell cultivator died just like that. Immediately, many people were shocked. Zichen's gaze swept around. Those who were scolding earlier all turned their heads to look elsewhere. "Calculate the losses and let the people who destroyed this place pay 10 times the compensation," Zichen said indifferently. 10 times the compensation. You really dare to ask for an exorbitant price. Just at this moment, a mocking laugh sounded. Zichen looked at the other party and said, 100 times the compensation. You still dare to challenge me? You have some skills? The other party laughed coldly and said, "Seeing how you killed a 6th-level spirit spell cultivator so cleanly, I wonder what you can do against a 7th-level spirit spell cultivator like me." The moment his words fell, without waiting for Zichen to make a move, this 7th-level spirit spell cultivator took the initiative to make a move. His figure flashed and disappeared. "Huh!" Zichen narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly. He immediately turned around and punched behind him. Following the appearance of this punch, the 7th-level spirit spell cultivator who had just disappeared appeared in front of Zichen's fist. It looked as if he had taken the initiative to collide with Zichen's fist. With a loud boom, the other party was also sent flying. The next moment, Zichen lifted his foot. "Wait!" The other party shouted, his face full of fear. But it was useless. Since he was trying to establish his might, there was naturally no way he would spare his life. His foot chopped down. Boom! 7th layer of spirit, spell realm, dead. To be able to kill a 7th-level spirit spell cultivator so easily, he had to be at least in the 8th stage or even the 9th stage. Furthermore, with such a strong combat strength, there was a possibility that he might be even stronger. The surroundings instantly became quiet. Zichen said nothing more and turned to leave. It was only after he had walked far away that the sounds of discussion could be heard. I didn't expect that there would be such a character in this tiny, pure land. In the crowd, a middle-aged man smiled faintly. Beside him, someone whispered, "Sir, could he be a destroyer of laws?" The middle-aged man shook his head. "It doesn't seem like it. Sensing the energy fluctuations, it's only at the spirit spell realm. However, it's definitely not an ordinary spirit spell. As for the specifics, I'll need another decent opponent." "Why don't I go test him?" The person beside him immediately said, "Forget it. He's obviously killing people to establish his might. It's good if you go out and win. If you lose, then only death awaits you." The middle-aged man waved his hand and said, "Let's go. We'll go to Rat Road Street." Rat Road Street? That person has quite a few inns there. He's called Zichen. He's an outsider who came here not long ago. This place was already destroyed beyond recognition. Naturally, he had to leave and find a new place to stay. Hearing the discussions in the distance, he had a simple understanding of Zichen. The two of them walked to Rat Road Street and found an inn to stay in. Zichen also returned to his residence and continued to guard this place. Not long after, Wei Luo came. He had a good relationship with Okon. Other than his own ability, his sister was also Okon's wife. "Sir, how is it?" After Wei Luo came in, he asked respectfully. After witnessing Zichen's strength the last time, he became extremely respectful towards Zichen. Zichen said, "There are at least 2 Dharma destroyers." What? Wei Luo's expression could not help but change. This was extremely unexpected. Before coming, Okon said that there might be 1 Dharma destroyer among these people, but Zichen said that there were at least 2. Relatively speaking, he was more willing to believe Zichen's words. "Then what should we do?" Wei Luo said worriedly, "Will they target this place?" Zichen said, "From the looks of it, they shouldn't." Wei Luo said again, "Could it be that their goal is still that Pure Land?" Obviously, Wei Luo also knew about that Pure Land. Zichen looked at Wei Luo. "You know about it too?" Wei Luo nodded. "Rumor has it that the Pure Land is connected to a strange world. So many people have come this time. One reason is for the things in the Pure Land. Another reason is to find that strange world." Looking at Zichen's puzzled expression, Wei Luo said again, "Rumor has it that there are unlimited resources in that strange world. As long as you enter it, it will be very easy to advance to Dharma Destroyer." Now, Zichen was only 1 step away from Dharma Destroyer. If there was a chance, naturally he would go and take a look. After the previous strong show of power, no one dared to cause trouble here anymore. This Pure Land calmed down again. However, Okon, who was in the depths, was not at ease. He was also a Dharma Destroyer. With the support of the Pure Land's power, his battle strength was about between the 2nd and 3rd level of Dharma Destroyer. This kind of battle strength was not weak. Unfortunately, after experiencing the previous incident, Okang was beaten until he was scared. Recently, he had been on tenterhooks. He kept feeling that everyone was plotting against him. A few more days passed. Fewer people came in, and more people went out. Gradually, the news of the newly discovered Pure Land began to spread. Zichen walked out of the inn. On Rat Road Street, he met 2 people. A middle-aged man, followed by a servant. The road was very wide, but the other party took the initiative to stop. Zichen also stopped and looked at the other party. "You should go there and take a look. Maybe you'll find something." After saying this, the other party nodded at Zichen with a smile and then left the Pure Land. In fact, Zichen had this idea when he came out this time. However, before that, he had to ensure the safety of this Pure Land. After the other party left, the people who had given Zichen an extraordinary feeling also left one after another. Thus, Zichen went to the depths and found Okon. The Dharma Destroyers should have left. Okon heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that he really came to recuperate. According to the agreement, you can choose a street. Even if it's here, it's fine to rebuild one. Rat Road Street is pretty good. Zichen said, "I want to go to that Pure Land to take a look." After saying that, Zichen turned and left. He was obviously not asking for Okon's opinion. Instead, he was telling him about this matter. "Help me take care of Little Bamboo. If I don't come back, give Rat Road Street to her." Okon watched Zichen leave, and his expression changed several times. Not long after, Zichen suddenly turned around and saw Okon following him. "My injuries have recovered. I'll go there and take a look." Chapter 52:26. Okon and Zichen left the Pure Land. Okon said, "You insisted on that Rat Road Street because of that little girl called Little Bamboo? So you won't be staying here for long, right?" Zichen nodded and didn't hide anything. The harvest from Rat Road Street should be enough for her cultivation. Okon asked, "Where are you going?" "I'm not sure." Zichen indeed didn't have a goal in coming here. If there was one, it would be to find Gashan. But the immortal spell world had changed so much that it was too difficult to find Gashan. To put it bluntly, when the immortal spell world was in danger, Gushan forcefully closed the passage. His original goal was to let the people of the 10,000 spirit world grow up and come to the immortal spell world to help. But too much time had passed, and the immortal spell world situation had changed. There was nothing he could help with. He didn't ask Okon about Gushan, but asked about the wasteland. The entire world was a wasteland, and the Pure Land was like a city standing in the wasteland. Compared to the vast wasteland, there weren't many of them. Actually, the Pure Land is also divided into levels. Zi-Chin turned to look at Okon. He had never heard of it before. Okon said, after obtaining a Pure Land, there will be pure energy in the core that can allow one to break through. For example, my Pure Land. When I obtained it, I was only at the 9th level of the spirit spell realm. It was because I refined the energy in it that I crossed the last step and advanced to the 1st level of the annihilation realm. Then Okon sighed. But that's the end. The remaining resources aren't enough for me to advance again. So my Pure Land is only the lowest level of Pure Land. Zi-Chin said, could it be that after obtaining a Pure Land of the corresponding level, one can advance to the corresponding realm? Okon nodded. If it's a newly discovered Pure Land, it's indeed so. But this doesn't include those Pure Lands that already have a master. Zi-Chin still didn't understand. Okon said, because the core resources of the Pure Land have already been refined by the master of the Pure Land. Zi-Chin nodded, indicating that he understood. Okon continued, so if you want to advance, it's useless even if you get my Pure Land now. However, if you get my Pure Land and wait patiently for hundreds or even thousands of years, the energy slowly accumulating in the core of the Pure Land may help you level up. This sentence was truly from the bottom of his heart. This was equivalent to Okon revealing his biggest secret to Zi-Chin. This naturally stemmed from trust. Zi-Chin nodded. In that case, it's better to find the new Pure Land. Okon said, it's not just worth it, it's really worth it. The Pure Land is said to be the greatest opportunity here. Zi-Chin suddenly asked, are there many Pure Lands in this wasteland? I'm not sure, but there should be quite a few. There are no less than 10 Pure Lands around us. Okon said, however, the highest level of the Pure Land is only level 3. The master of the Pure Land is level 3 of the Law Annihilation Realm. His battle power is equivalent to level 4 to level 5 of the Law Annihilation Realm. Regarding the battle power, Okon had told him previously that with his level 1 Law Annihilation Realm power, he would have no problem facing a level 2 Law Annihilation Realm in the Pure Land. He could even fight against a level 3 Law Annihilation Realm. That black-robed man was an accident, because he took advantage of the fact that Okon was seriously injured to kill his way over. Following that, Okon talked about some other things. For example, the ancestor beast that Zi-Chin had seen was the lowest level. They had no flesh and blood, only soul flames. Hybrid demons were another race. They were extremely powerful and were born to oppose them. It was said that hybrid demons also lived in the Pure Land, but it was not called the Pure Land but the Devil Land. The others walked very quickly, and in a blink of an eye, they were nowhere to be seen. Zi-Chin and Okon walked at the back. Suddenly, Zi-Chin turned his head and looked to the side. 1,000 feet away, an ancestor beast had appeared. It dug the ground rapidly, and very soon, it picked up a person from the ground. Accompanied by a scream, that person turned into a skeleton. This was the rule of the wasteland. Zi-Chin furrowed his brows. Okon said, this world is like this. You can't do anything about it. Even if you have the ability and the intention, there is no such large Pure Land in this world for them to live in. There is. Zi-Chin suddenly said, is there such a large Pure Land? Okon stared in disbelief. The wasteland is big enough. Zi-Chin looked up at the sky. Okon said, you mean to kill all the ancestor beasts? I have to say this idea is very noble. But if the wasteland has no ancestor beasts, those people will die even faster. If this was the immortal spell world, then the rules of heaven and earth were not like this in the past. It was just that later it was destroyed. But if the order of heaven and earth was restored, everything would naturally return to normal. Zichen said, "What if we turn the wasteland into a pure land?" Okon's eyes widened in shock. After a long time, he came back to his senses and gave Zichen a thumbs up. "Your idea is really extraordinary." In Okon's understanding, the world was like this and could not be changed. But Zichen was different. He came from a different world. As soon as he arrived at his destination, he could feel the fluctuations of a battle. Currently, he did not see where the Pure Land was. There was a chaotic battle ahead. Zichen saw the ancestor beasts with flesh and blood and the hybrid demons that Okon mentioned. The moment Zichen saw the hybrid demon, he knew that it was the extra-legal demon. It seemed that no matter where they were, the two sides were hostile. At the same time, Zichen also saw the middle-aged man. He stood at the back of the crowd and did not join the battle. After seeing Zichen, the other party nodded slightly. Ao Kang's eyes swept around as if he was looking for something. "Rat!" A loud shout suddenly sounded like a clap of thunder with a buzzing sound. Hearing this voice, Okon's expression suddenly changed. He stared at the person who spoke. "What did you say?" The other party sneered and said, "I said you're a rat. Back then you ran quite fast. I thought you were too scared to come." That was a hybrid demon. Zichen guessed that he was the one who injured Okon. "Do you want to die?" At this moment, everyone's gazes were cast over. Okon could not afford to lose face, so he could only brace himself. "Oh, you've become capable." The other party walked forward. Okon gritted his teeth and said, "Come at me if you can." At this moment, he naturally had to lose face. At this moment, another hybrid demon appeared and whispered a few words in the ear of the previous person. That hybrid demon snorted and said, "I'll let you live a little longer. When the demonic land opens, I'll take your life." Okon heaved a sigh of relief. Obviously, they were not going to fight. To be honest, he could not defeat the other party. Last time he had brought so many people and they were all injured. At this moment, the hybrid demon looked at Zichen. "What are you looking at?" "Cass, gouge his eyes out." Immediately, a hybrid demon walked out from behind. He released his aura. Chapter 52:27. A mantis demon walked forward, filled with murderous intent. The previous battle was just a small skirmish. As the 8th-stage realm mantis demon released his aura, the battle stopped. Everyone turned their heads and looked towards this direction. "My lord, they are about to fight." The man beside the middle-aged man was slightly agitated. The middle-aged man nodded. In this way, they would be able to see the true depth of this Zichen. Zichen looked at the approaching mantis demon and frowned slightly. Okon saw this and shouted angrily, "Do you want to die? Scram!" He was a little fearful towards the mantis demon in the law extermination realm, but to deal with a mere spiritual spell, there was no problem at all. "I think the one who wants to die is you." That mantis demon said coldly, "You dare to meddle in other people's business. I will destroy you." Okon and that existence looked at each other, neither giving in. At this moment, everyone was actually restraining themselves. Because the Pure Land had not appeared, if a battle broke out now, it would be disadvantageous. Just like the previous time, when there was some strange movement, everyone couldn't wait to fight. In the end, before the Pure Land appeared, both sides were injured. Hence, they had no choice but to find a place nearby to recuperate. So this time, everyone was restraining themselves. Even if there were people fighting, it was just a small skirmish. Zichen stretched out his hand and stopped Okon's action. Since the other party wanted to find trouble, then he would solve it. The 8th-stage realm mantis demon gave a cruel smile. "If I kill you, I should be able to gain something." Zichen smiled when he heard that. "That's exactly what I want." "Courting death." The other party narrowed his eyes and charged toward Zichen. Zichen stood on the spot, his right hand clenched into a fist. He punched out. Infinite light bloomed, like a huge sun rising slowly. A loud boom was heard on the empty ground. The 8th stage realm mantis demon came quickly and left even faster. Boom! He crashed heavily onto the ground, and numerous bones turned into ashes. Everyone was stunned. No one had expected Zichen to be so strong. The expression of the mantra extermination realm Yimo changed. Swoosh! Chen's body disappeared. In the next moment, he appeared beside the 8th stage hybrid demon and viciously stomped down with his leg. Stop! That law extermination realm Yimo let out a furious roar and charged forward. Chen ignored the voice and continued to descend. Boom! With him as the center, energy shockwaves spread out in all directions. Beneath his feet, the hybrid demon's body began to disintegrate layer by layer. In the end, all that was left was a skeleton. Beside the withered bones was a pure light of law. In other words, it was a law spirit. However, Chen had never seen such purity in his life. Chen bent down to pick up the Dao law spirit. Die! The spell extermination realm hybrid demon arrived and slapped towards Chen's head. The tyrannical power of annihilation circulated wildly. At such a close distance, Chen felt that his own strength was somewhat shaky. This was the strength of a spell destroyer. Fortunately, he was not weak. The aura around his body was fully activated. While blocking the other party's attack, he did not forget to pick up the law spirit on the ground. Boom! The two of them clashed, and Chen's body slid backwards. A long gully was left on the wasteland. The hybrid demon was at the starting point of the gully. Chen was at the end of the gully. The surroundings were silent as everyone looked at the two of them. To be precise, they were looking at Chen. The aura surrounding his body was only at the 9th level of the spirit realm. However, he blocked the attack of a first-stage spell extermination realm hybrid demon. Across the gully, Chen glanced at the hybrid demon and then walked towards Okon. Everyone's gaze followed Chen's movements. The spell extermination realm hybrid demon did not continue to attack. Is this still considered a law spirit? Chen came in front of Okon and took out the light and asked. Okon nodded and explained, "This is the most special law spirit. It can be refined quickly and is an emergency recovery item on the battlefield. This kind of thing is usually not used for transactions." Chen nodded. He had already sensed the difference earlier. Then his gaze swept around and looked at the hybrid demon in the distance with a gloomy expression. "If I kill him, what will I get here?" Okon's expression changed slightly and said, "A pure law crystal." The two of them did not speak loudly, but everyone present was extraordinary and could naturally hear it. For a moment, their expressions changed again. "Come over if you have the ability." The hybrid demon's face was ashen. He had been suppressing himself and did not kill anyone, but now a mere 9 powers realm wanted to kill him. Did he think he was a pushover? He naturally could not tolerate this kind of provocation. "Who is willing to lend me a hand? After this is done, I am willing to give up the law crystal. I just don't like him." Chen looked around and said, "Many people were tempted. A law crystal was too tempting. Unfortunately, they were not strong enough and did not dare to face the hybrid demon head-on. Those with strength would not act unless they saw a rabbit. Naturally, they would not make a move easily." Chen said regretfully, "It seems that you can still live a little longer." The hybrid demon said coldly, "When we enter the Pure Land, you will be the first to die." Chen was not to be outdone. "I have reserved your law crystal in advance. I am afraid that you won't be able to hear it when you die, so I will thank you in advance." The hybrid demon's eyes flashed with killing intent. The other hybrid demons were the same. Zi-chan was not afraid at all and looked at him calmly. In another direction, the ancestor beasts with flesh and blood gathered together and watched this scene coldly. Zi-chen could not see how intelligent they were. In contrast, the spirit race was gathered in groups of 3 to 5. It seemed that the spirit race had the most people, but they were not united. The next step was to wait. During this period, there were no more battles. Everyone was very restrained. Suddenly, dozens of miles behind them, an abnormality appeared in the space. The entrance to the Pure Land is there! Someone shouted. Everyone immediately changed direction and went straight to the spatial abnormality. Zi-chan touched his nose. Even the entrance can be wrong? Okon said, the abnormality was indeed here before, but I don't know why it changed this time. The two also changed direction and went straight ahead. The space in front of them was constantly distorted. It can't be the same as last time, a feint, right? Someone muttered in his heart. At this moment, the distorted space was broken by a strong force, forming a passage. It's the Pure Land has opened. Rumor has it that there is another world in this Pure Land. Hurry up, follow. A tyrannical aura surged. Ancestor beast, spirit race, and hybrid demons. These 3 different races madly rushed forward. When they got close, they turned into light and entered the Pure Land. A newly opened Pure Land. There must be good things inside. Okon was also very excited and said, Zi-chan, if you are lucky this time, you might be able to break through. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.